Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, on Wednesday made history for being the first world leader to address a joint sitting of the United States Congress for the fourth time. The Israeli Prime Minister used his record-breaking opportunity to offer a forceful defense of Israel and its conduct in the current conflict in Gaza. His appearance before the US Congress comes at a delicate time for Israel, given the erosion of bipartisan support from American lawmakers, given its conduct in the current conflict in Gaza. Hello and welcome to The Print. In today's instant analysis, I will analyze the key takeaways from Netanyahu's address to the US Congress. Through the history of ties between the two countries, one thing has remained constant: bipartisan support for the nation of Israel. However, on Wednesday, the slow ending of such support for the country was clear. Numerous Democrats, including Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi, decided to skip the address. Vice President Kamala Harris, who is the President of the US Senate and would normally chair the joint sitting with her counterpart in the House of Representatives, Speaker Mike Johnson, decided to skip the address as well. Pelosi later called the address the worst presentation of any foreign dignitary invited and honored with the privilege of addressing the Congress of the United States of America in a post on social media. Netanyahu, recognizing the divisions within the US for support to Israel and its conduct in the current war, which by the count of Gazan authorities has killed 39,000 Palestinians, sought to recast the conflict as one against Iran. The thrust of his speech is that Israel is the first line of defense for the US against the most murderous enemy of the country, Tehran. His call for the united US-Israel front against Iran comes as a means to regain any lost support amongst the two major political parties in Congress. However, he also labeled an indirect criticism against President Joe Biden and the present administration. When Netanyahu urged the US Congress to send Tel Aviv weapons faster to get the job done faster, President Biden has withheld 2,000-pound bombs for the fear that it could be used to kill civilians in Gaza through the bombing of crowded cities and refugee camps. The faster delivery of weapons would help Israel defeat Hamas and defend the US from Iran's other proxies in the region, like the Houthis and Hezbollah, which aim to weaken America's standing in the region, was what Netanyahu was trying to highlight. To effectively fight Iran, Netanyahu also called for a military alliance between the US, Israel, and key countries in the region who are keen to fight against Tehran to be created. He even named the alliance as the Abraham Alliance, a nod to the Abraham Accords, which normalized ties between Tel Aviv and 4 Arab states in 2020. He used the opportunity to raise bipartisan support for his efforts against Iran by thanking US President Donald J. Trump for his aid in seeing the Abraham Accords through and for his friendship with the nation of Israel. Netanyahu also thanked President Joe Biden for standing with Israel in its darkest hour after the 7th October attack by Hamas. In another takeaway from this speech, Netanyahu tried to cast those who protest against Israel's conduct in the war as terrorist sympathizers and called the thousands of students around the US who built encampments across college campuses in the country against Israel's war in Gaza as Tehran's useful idiots. His dismissal of the protests against Israel's conduct put the Democrats who attended the address in a tough spot, especially given that nearly 5,000 Americans had assembled outside Capitol Hill to protest against the war as Netanyahu was addressing the US Congress. The Democratic Party, which has in the past built a coalition of voters which includes Arab Americans, has seen support fall for its inability to rein Netanyahu in. In battleground states such as Michigan, the Arab American support is key for the Democratic Party's electoral chances in the November presidential election. The Israeli Prime Minister's speech seemed to also be aimed at his own domestic audience, given the growing calls against his conduct of the war at the cost of not bringing back the 120-odd hostages remaining with Hamas back home. It also comes at a time as the Israeli leader is attempting to show that the country still retains global support after the prosecutor of the International Criminal Court called for arrest warrants against Netanyahu and his allies for crimes against humanity. Just last week, the International Court of Justice, in an advisory opinion, called for Israel to withdraw its occupation of the Palestinian territories. In the last takeaway, Netanyahu offered his plan for the post war Gaza, one which is demilitarized and de radicalized. He highlighted how the Allied powers did the same for Germany and Japan at the end of World War II, which has brought about decades of international peace. The plan, while vague, indicates a continued Israel security presence in Gaza for the foreseeable future. This is all for me today. Thank you for watching The Print. Subscribe below for more such news and analysis.